Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm going to talk about the WSL game between Arsenal and Chelsea now. Just like the men's game against Wolves, I didn't see it over the weekend, and this is the first time I've actually been able to sit down and watch it. The WSL on YouTube posts every game eventually, even though the ones on Sky and BBC, the live game goes out a little bit later. So it is fairly easy to catch a game if you miss it. But given the duration of time between Sunday and Wednesday, I already knew the result before I watched it, so it was not a game I was particularly looking forward to watching. But watch it I did, and there were a lot of things I was encouraged by, even though Chelsea did ultimately win. I think for a lot of the game, we actually looked the better side, which is nice to see. It was a very shaky start. Like the first 10 minutes, we kind of had to survive a barrage of shots from Chelsea, and there were a few individual errors. Van Domselaar made a few, but then redeemed herself with some saves later on. The weirder one was Leah Williamson, who is usually our like one of our most composed players. Uh, Seemed to struggle a little bit in the first bit and made a few mistakes that were uncharacteristic. But all was good at the end of the day. Even though Chelsea had a few half chances, it was nothing too serious. And then we grew into the game and got on top after that early barrage from Chelsea. So I think started with a Cuthbert mistake, which is also pretty rare, which Russo got the ball, got a shot, or maybe it was an attempt to pass it to Ford. I couldn't completely tell. Either way, she didn't quite do it right, uh, which is a bit surprising given how great Russo's been playing recently. But it is what it is. Sometimes you miss, like, it happens. Um, However, that was probably our best chance in the first half. We actually got most of the better chances in the game, but nothing came of it. I think even though we did have a few decent opportunities, Chelsea were always very good in defense. Like, even when we'd have shots and a player wouldn't be able to be close enough to make a tackle, they were still doing the right movements off the ball to where if you can't tackle a player, you can at least get in front of the path to the goal and make the shot harder. And I think Chelsea a few times did that very well, to where even though they couldn't make the tackle, they made it very hard for a player to shoot and score. Um, so I think that it's not entirely surprising Arsenal didn't score, even though they had a few decent chances. Nothing like super great, other than that Russo chance that she didn't quite get right. Uh, but I think both Arsenal and Chelsea uh, defended fairly well, and it was fairly cagey. Both teams actually made a few defensive mistakes, but whenever a player would make a mistake, there'd be enough other teammates who could get behind the ball that it wouldn't matter too much. And both defenses were very organized and did a good job of closing off any chances. So most of the chances ended up just being kind of half chances, and that's an encouragement, I think. And it's good to see we've continued to be very defensively compact, especially against a team like Chelsea, who have been held scoreless just once in their last 64 games now, which is pretty impressive, to say the least. Um, and they really struggled, I think, to do too much. And again, even when players would make a mistake, Arsenal is also very organized in defense to where it wouldn't matter too much because enough other players would be around to react to that. That a single individual error wouldn't be enough to give Chelsea a great opportunity. So that I can take encouragement from, and it was a fairly cagey game. It was a game Arsenal kind of had to win if they wanted any chance of being in the title race. Uh, I feel like this game was less of a game for the title race and more a game for Arsenal to try and get themselves into it. Because Chelsea are really out on their own right now. No one's close to them. And they ended up getting a penalty right before uh, the game ended. I mean, not like right before, it was like 84th minute, but it was over from there. And also, McCabe getting sent off didn't help. And that's kind of the downside of McCabe, who is a very good player, and is one of our most important players. But she does have a fairly fiery temper, and getting a yellow card for dissent, and then deciding to still go after the ref, and then get another yellow card and get sent off, is a fairly avoidable thing to do. And it seems her temper got the best of her there, and that ended up hurting the team a lot when, again, it's very avoidable. And I really like McCabe, and she's really important for the team, but sometimes the discipline isn't quite there, and it can hurt us like it did there. Like, it's bad enough to go down 1-0. It's even worse when you then have to try and get an equalizer with 10 women on the field instead of 11. And so Chelsea ended up winning. It was a foul that gave him a penalty. Uh, there wasn't much Arsenal did like wrong. They didn't score at the end of the day, so it doesn't really matter that I think they did actually play as the better team. Uh, but the title's very much Chelsea's. And I kind of had a feeling this was going to happen because Chelsea right now are just on a different level. And I honestly didn't like. They were decent last year, but they weren't invincible. But as soon as Sonia Bompastor came in as manager, they've gone from really good to basically unbeatable. Uh, they've drawn one game weirdly to Leicester this season, but won every single other game. And right now, they're on course to win the league whilst unbeaten. Which, if they could do that 3 times in a row, then they'd be up on Arsenal's level. But they have a decent chance to do it at least one season. And I'm not actually super upset with that right now because I think after the start Arsenal had, it was always going to be hard. And it's annoying that Chelsea are probably going to win another title, and that would be, I believe, their 6th in a row. Uh, but I said before in other videos, I'm excited about the direction Arsenal are going in right now. And this game gives me more encouragement than discouragement, I think. Uh, I actually was, and maybe this is just me coping because we still lost at the end of the day, but seeing the way Chelsea players celebrated after that goal, like, it was more than just your typical celebration. There was like some, kind of thing. I don't know if that makes sense, but like, that seemed to be an extra sense of joy and just like a let off after going very close with Arsenal. And that roar by Bompastor at the end, like, we really did make them work for it. And, like, the fact that a team that has beaten everyone else pretty much with ease is celebrating to that magnitude to have finally broken past us. I know, again, it's probably me coping, but that does give me a little bit of encouragement. That means we really did make them work for it, if that's the kind of celebration they have. And it wasn't even like an in-your-face celebration. It was we just won a really hard game thing. uh, but yeah, we're not gonna win the league. I am okay with that. I think the bigger thing now is Man City the next weekend, which it's pretty rough to play Chelsea and Man City away in 2 weeks. Uh, so that's gonna be another very big test, and I think that's more important for our season now because only 3 teams get to go to Europe next season. And Man United, Man City, and Arsenal are all very good teams, and one of them's going to miss out. So the game against Man City is a good game to make sure we aren't that team that miss out. I think that might be actually more important to our season than the game against Chelsea because if we beat Chelsea, honestly, they probably still would have gone on to win the league. But getting Europe next season is vitally important. So Man City is the big one now. I am really excited about the direction Arsenal's going in. Sometimes when teams go on mass extended winning runs, the moment they lose, it kind of snaps that momentum and they go on a losing streak all of a sudden. I'm not too worried about that right now because I think Arsenal are built on very solid defensive foundations, and teams that are defensively solid don't lose that often. So, as long as goals keep coming, which other than in this game they have, um, I'm not too worried just yet. But we do have to beat Man City, and I do think that is probably more important now than the game against Chelsea because whilst I don't think we're going to win the league, we are very much in a race for European places, and we can't be the odd ones out.